Yo, hanging with the Joneses. I'm Rashad Jones, rolling solo today. Keisha asleep. So I just wanted to, just thank everybody for watching and listening. If you're doing this on YouTube or through the podcast, either way, I'm very appreciative. We're very appreciative of your help and support. Again, make sure that you are joining us, sharing and subscribing and commenting and, getting the word out, letting your people know that, hey, there's two pretty decent black folks up here, trying to really speak with honesty and humility and really be, kind of forthright about what it means to be married and have kids and maintain a marriage and maintain and protect love, because that's what this really is about. It's a podcast about life, love, and marriage. So if we're not projecting and talking about that, then we're not doing what we're even said we were going to do. And that's really the major point in this, is to really project and show people look, you can do this regardless of how it looks. You can still do it. And that's what I want to talk about for a few minutes today, is just how being a husband has, just impacts in me, overall. A lot of times you may, even yesterday, we're having a conversation, and my wife was like, oh, you'll never be considering me, thinking about me. I'm like, oh, let's cool out. I've considered you, I think about you all the time. And the trappings of a decent man is that he's always going to be thinking about his spouse and his family first. Even if you end up doing something for yourself, your first thoughts are going to be, all right, okay, so how is this going to impact everybody else? And that's really how I weigh all my decisions. How is what I'm doing going to impact everybody else? And it took me a while to get to that point, because early on, I was just going for myself. I really didn't care. I had already had a kid and been married for a few years, still was doing stuff selfishly. Why? Because I didn't know no better, and that's all I did anyway. So I had to sit back and actually learn and be taught, and and sit through conversations that were uncomfortable, and not want to really be very verbose about my feelings and what was going on in my mind while I was doing these dumb things. I mean, I remember, matter of fact, I can't even say one occasion, on two occasions, I got fired from my job because I just didn't feel like doing my job no more. Legit, I was just I was on a call. I'm in the call center taking calls, and a couple of us, she said, man, we just gonna stop taking calls. And we just didn't take calls for days. And those days turned into a couple of weeks. And then eventually Smile was like, hey, let me talk to you. I was like, yeah, no, I pretty much know this is it for me here. But even in our stupidity, God still looked out, because it wasn't even a month later I had an even better job. And I'm not even sure if I was actually grateful for that, because a lot of it, I just said, hey, I got a lot of bounce back in me. You really I'm not gonna be down with for so long. And it took me a while to really get to the point where I was really putting my family before I put myself, because again, I just didn't know, and I really didn't I thought what I was doing was sufficient. So why I'm gonna change up what I'm doing if it's been working? And I had to really sit back and look and say, okay, is this really working for us? And that's when I had to start really considering us and everything that we did. Because before, when it was just me, I was just, really doing me. And even when I was younger in my family's house, I still was basically doing this for Rashad. I had siblings and all, but after a while, I was 15, 16. I was like, man, I'm going to be doing this for myself. So, and that was my mentality up until like maybe 5, 6, 7 years into marriage. Like I was still basically had that same thought process, even though I was still married. So I had to retrain my mind to legitimately and realistically think about myself second, family first. And we say those type things and we espouse these affirmations and these mantras, but if we're really not living by these things, we're just spouting empty words, and the people who are closer to us are affected by these things, and they don't see any true actual change or anything going on inside of us that's actually tangible, then things are going to be changing. Like they're not going to want to deal with us to a certain level. And it got to a point where like, Keisha was like, yo, like, you need to get it together. Like, you can't be getting fired from jobs. You have a whole family. And I'm like, yeah, like, I really do. Like, I do have a family, yo. Like, what am I doing? Like, and it also ties into really knowing what you should be doing with your life. Because even after, back in like '09, I was doing insurance and I hated it. I almost got fired from that job too. But the only blessing was the company was actually like shutting down and consolidating. So I left on a severance and a 30-day at the same time. So I had a 30-day notice. I did one more thing wrong, I was going to get fired. But my supervisor was like, look, I'm sorry, the daggone floor supervisor was like, look, I need you just to keep your act together for 30 days and get your severance. And after that, I went almost 3 years doing like, unemployment, odd jobs, temp agency, like really just grinding it out. And it was difficult. But it was in those times where I really learned what it meant to be selfless, because I had no choice. And as a man, like I had no way to truly provide for my family. So I'm really out here leaning on Keisha as like the sole breadwinner. And it was the worst. Like, I mean, like the first 6, 7 months, like I was pretty much depressed. I wasn't doing a whole lot. I was in the house. I wasn't exercising. It wasn't great. But after a while, like I had to take it as this is just a part of my process, and I need to be building something. So I actually had to start getting, reading my Bible and praying and stuff, and getting like refocused. And through that, I actually started to gain clarity on what I was supposed to be doing, which was like basically at the time was teaching. So the next 5 years was just my path to becoming like licensed as a teacher. So through that, putting my family first, I was actually able to do and work on my purpose and be fulfilled in that all at the same time. Because that was the amazing part. Like I was actually able to be fulfilled and still be able to put my family first. A lot of times, like I thought that those two things weren't mutually exclusive. Like, well, if I'm gonna be able to provide for my family, like it's gonna be, I'm gonna have to sacrifice myself being happy to a certain degree, and that was a lie. That's not the truth. You still can be fulfilled and still be able to do the things that you need to do for your people. And it took a while for me to kind of grasp that the duality of that concept. And even now, as I'm wanting to progress and do other things, I still have that same focus to where, like, okay, I know first I need to make sure my people are okay. And then I can really start to do other things and explore other opportunities for myself, because in the end, if those things are fully actualized, they're going to help everybody too. But those things, I can't divorce myself from either one of those things. They have to be done and be on the same course, because if not, then it's not going to be a great situation. Then I'll be putting myself first. And the whole point of this whole conversation is me talking about how a husband should be always thinking about the family before they think about themselves. And I'm not talking about how I'm like, I've resigned myself as an individual, because that I have not. I don't live vicariously through my kids. Like, my family is a huge part of my life, but Rashad Jones is Rashad Jones, and I don't really I'm not defined by this. This is just a part of me. This is not me. And a lot of times as parents, we can't really distinguish the two. You know, first thing you ask them what they do, they say like, "Oh, I'm a mom," or "I'm a dad." You know, instead of saying like, you know, "I'm a man," or "I'm a woman," or however you want to you know, identify yourself. Like that should be first. Then, you know, I'm a husband, I'm a father. You know, because if you try to take the individuality of you and not really give credence to that, then you'll get trapped in just being a mom, or just being a dad, or just being, you know, whatever your profession is, instead of being like, you know, I insert your first and last name there. Like, that's who you are. So over everything, like, I'm Rashad Jones, and I have to make sure that I'm true to myself. And that can be difficult. That can be very difficult. And it also can be very rewarding when you like really go all out and know what your purpose is, and be on the path to fulfilling said purpose. Yeah, I think I went on long enough by myself. So this is just a small portion of how I feel like we should be operating, especially as a man in a marriage. You know, placing your people first before you. You have to be focused on being there for your people, because if not, they'll find other people. And I ain't trying to have that. That's not a good place to be. You know, I live in a place where, you know, I feel like, hey, if I'm not doing it right, I can easily be replaced. But and you may say, oh, that's a fear. Well, that's a reality. I mean, think about it. There's been some people who we deem as overtly beautiful, and they getting divorced and replaced too. So ain't nobody safe. Anyway, this is again me, quick edition, hanging with the Joneses. Keisha should be back next week, and we'll have our normal discussion. I just want to keep the content flowing. I hope you guys have an amazing week. You guys be good.